Hello there, and welcome to another episode of the Malik Show Live. I am your host, Malik Shabazz Sullivan. I am so glad that you have decided to come and see about us on this last show of February 2020. But yes, this is still Heart Month, it's still Black History Month and everything, but we are just carrying on in this short and the shortest month of the year. But on tonight, Wednesday, February the 26th, we have an amazing special guest. And might I say, on the Malik Show Live, we have had entertainers, we've had pastors, we've had bishops, but on tonight is special. We have a fashion stylist designer that is here on the Malik Show Live, and I'm glad to call this gentleman a good friend of mine, the one and only Robert Craig Jr., aka, as we all know him as Robert Craig Designs. Yes. Well, Robert, I'm so glad to have you on the show tonight.
Thank you, man, for inviting me.
No problem, no problem. Well, we're going to get started.
Okay.
No hot topics tonight, ladies and gentlemen, but we got a good show on tonight. And for all you fashion men, you fashion women, you dressed up, whatever, I think tonight is the show for you. But tonight, like I said, Robert Craig is our first fashion person to come on, and he's actually a designer. And tonight you're going to see so many of his designs, his clientele, and much more. But just before we get started with the interview on tonight, we have a bio that we want to know, who is this Robert Craig Jr.? Known as Robert Kingsley Craig Jr., born November the 18th, 1976, to the union of Robert Kingsley Craig Sr. and Josephine Pearson Craig. Robert is a native of Waterbury, Connecticut, where he was born and raised. Robert attended public school and graduated high school in 1986. Robert discovered his passion for fashion and design at an early age. Robert began designing at the age of 16 years old. Wow, so young. Undoubtedly, Robert was self-taught, but he was determined to master skills. After graduating high school, he enrolled in Norfolk State University and majored in fashion merchandising. After a few years, Robert moved to Washington, D.C., the nation's capital, and continued working hard to build his clientele up. Later, he moved to Atlanta, Georgia as well. While he was there, and was able to gain more clients and work tirelessly. After a few more years, Robert moved to Charlotte, North Carolina, where he wanted to perfect his craft even further, so he enrolled in Paul Mitchell, the School of Charlotte. After sharpening his skills in school and continued pursuing his career in fashion, Robert worked a string of odd jobs, but he couldn't deny his intense fire and passion for fashion. So 2010, Robert went into business for himself. My goodness. I'm knocking, hold on for a minute. Don't mind that, ladies and gentlemen. We had a little technical difficulty. Don't mind that. But anyway, in 2010, Robert went into business for himself and started his own design company, Robert Craig Designs. In effort, he designed custom women wear as far as church and evening wear. In an effort, he showcased his work, built his brand, and make his name known for Robert entering Charlotte's Fashion Week in 2012. Robert worked tirelessly, qualify and classy garments. His hard work did pay off, and he was crowned the winner of Charlotte's Fashion Week in 2012. Robert had continuously worked hard to build up his clientele. And let me tell you all something. I got to put Malik's flavor in this. He designs for some of the greatest and biggest names in the world today living, as far as Grammy and Stellar award-winning group, the Clark Sisters, as we know them very well. Kojik's own Jackie Clark Chisholm, Karen Clark Sheard, Dorinda Clark Cole, and Twinkie Clark. Robert built, and he also designed for other names that we're going to talk about on tonight. But continuing on, Pastor Sam Franklin, just a few names: Pastor Sam Franklin, Pastor Monique Walker, and other Kojic known women and we're going to display their fashions and so on and so forth on tonight. But most of all, I must say this personally, Robert is a humble man who credits God for all his success and achievements. If you ever give him a compliment or admire his work, he will tell you his infamous line, giving God all the glory. Wow. All right, all right, all right. Well, we know a little bit of Robert Craig Jr., and we apologize for that technical difficulty, ladies and gentlemen. But anyway, so Robert, on tonight, and just before we start, we have a picture of you, producer. Let's see this young, there we go, young Robert Craig Jr. So Robert, my first question tonight is, tell us a little bit about your childhood. As we can see, you seem and look like a happy child. I mean, just enjoying life as a youngster.
Well, it was that. I mean, I was a child enjoying life as a young child. Just living a carefree life as a child. I mean, my parents worked and had regular jobs in Connecticut, where I'm from. A lot of jobs up there were factory jobs. So my parents worked really, really hard in those factory jobs. Way back in the day, Uniroyal was a rubber company, really, really big in that area. So factory jobs are what my parents did and were at that time. So, we just had a regular life, me and my brothers and my sister, just regular life.
So, I mean, this is awesome to say, regular life and everything. So, going back to your bio, now let's say as far as life, did you enjoy life as a child as far as maybe going to outings? And I'm sure you're a churchman, so I'm sure your parents had you in church and so on and so forth.
Yes, of course I enjoyed, going out and doing things, and my father kept us in church. We stayed in church,
Wow,
which was
awesome.
fine with me.
Well, I understand. So moving forward, still through childhood. So Robert, tell us about the school life. I mean, school is just a place where you can really learn different things, really be yourself, meet people and stuff. So let's talk about education wise and everything. And also onto this question, how did at 16 years old you develop fashion. So tell us that whole, scene right there for you.
So, of course, I went to grade school and continued on to middle school. And when I entered into high school, um, and I'm going to tell you the story how it even happened.
Okay.
I had a cousin who I adored. And at the age of 16, of course, no one had money. I didn't have any money because I didn't work.
Mm-hmm.
So I was on 15, 16 borderline. And, I wanted to get her something for her birthday, but I'm like, what am I going to get for her? I don't have no money. So I just said to myself, I'm going to make her something.
Mm-hmm.
And so I went to the fabric store in my local city, bought some pink and brown fabric, went home, cut out a pattern out of comic strip paper, the local paper,
Mm-hmm.
placed the comic strip paper on the fabric, cut it out, and made it, Malik.
Oh
I didn't know
wow.
I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know how to put it together. I don't even remember where I got the sewing machine from to even make the garment.
Mm.
And so
So
it was just like really a gift from God, Malik, handed to me on a silver platter.
wow, at 16 years old.
At 16, Malik, I didn't know what I was doing.
Oh my, 16. I mean, hey, a lot of 16-year-olds, I mean, driving their first, I mean, learning how to drive a car and, meeting, going to parties and so on and so forth. But 16, learning how to sew and make, I mean, wow, that's awesome. That is so awesome.
Thank you.
Yes, indeed. Well, moving on to our next question. So, graduated high school and you went to Norfolk State University. Now, tell us the college life. Now, tell me, as far as your college life, how did you, excel and also majored in fashion merchandising?
Well, Malik, when I got to Norfolk State University, go Spartans, I acted a pure fool, Malik.
Oh my.
I'm gonna be honest with you. I acted a fool, and I did 2 years at Norfolk State, and I just really wasn't grounded when I was in college. I was just there, and the thing about it is, I just really wanted to get out of the town I was living in.
Wow.
And so, yeah, I went to Norfolk State, and I met some great people, and I did learn.
Hmm.
And but the bottom line was, that wasn't for me at that time.
I totally understand. So here's my next question. Now, Robert, you have definitely been a traveling man, and just before we came on the air, you've been to our nation's capital, which is my home state and everything. So you lived in D.C. and also you've been in Charlotte. Well, yeah, you moved to, like I say, you lived in Charlotte, moved to Atlanta. So tell me, as far as the traveling and also living in these three rising cities. How was life treating you then?
Let's say DC was great. I met a lot of people there, and I really cultivated my skills being a designer.
Hmm.
So I really learned a lot, and I have a godmother that lives in DC who really sewed into me, into my career. Her and her husband, Morris and
Hmm.
Hurd, and they live right in Northeast. I'm sure you're familiar with the area.
Hmm.
But her and her husband, Malik, they planted so much into me. They were so seed into me and just everything. They did so much for me. And today, they're still my favorite people.
Wow.
DC is a great city, and I had a great time there.
Chocolate City.
Yeah. I mean,
And you
it's a
know
great
what?
city.
And here's a little joke, and I'm gonna throw this out there, and it'll be much better once we get rid of 45.
Okay.
Oh, I had to put that out there. But anyway,
uh,
I don't mean to do all that. But I'm just saying, yeah, DC is a good city. Now, producer, let's move to another picture here of Robert. Yes, we got Robert at a teenage age, and I believe he probably was in his early teens. And Robert, as I described, you have an iron on one side, and you got something red. So I'm thinking you were making something.
I believe so, Malik.
Oh
I
wow. I
believe
mean,
so.
young. Let's talk about these young pictures here. Let's move on to the next one, producer. Yeah, okay. Well, Robert, might I say you um well, like I say, ladies and gentlemen, as you can see, Robert got a hat on tonight. But as we're looking at these pictures, Robert had a good full of hair on his head and looks so
Good.
young. I mean, I didn't even recognize. I said, I didn't know, wow, that's Robert. Good God, but so young. And here's another picture of Robert. Yes, young Robert Craig Designs, Esquire. Look like he going to church in that picture, all suited and booted. Yes, indeed. Now, Robert, let me ask you another question. As we're looking at the pictures, fashion. Now, let's talk about you and fashion. Have you ever? I mean, just by looking at your pictures, you seem very distinguished, very clean cut, everything. Has fashion ever been somewhat a love for you? Now, I mean, even from a kid growing up, have you ever just always wanted to just dress real up? I mean, of course, it's not just all about the tennis shoes and the jeans, but just dress real up. Even if you're going to a church, if you're going to somewhere nice. I mean, that's my next question I wanted to ask to you. Wow.
Yes, I've always been a dresser. Always loved to dress up. Always.
Oh yeah. Well, fashion is your passion. Like I say,
Sure
it
is.
it
I
is.
live it.
Listen, I tell you. Okay, we're moving on. So, producer, move on to our next picture here, producer. All right. Okay, and here's a casual picture of Robert. Okay, so we are moving on. Okay, so we're moving on to the good part. And as in the bio, in 2010, that's where it all began. Now, part two, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take our time, but part two, We have Robert with some amazing people, artists and celebrities, and also we have some of Robert's clientele, and Robert is going to talk more about the client, the dress, and so on and so forth. But right now, this is the best part of the show. We're going to know 2010, Robert went into business for himself and created Robert Craig Designs. Now, Robert, tell our fans and viewers, you move past your childhood, you move past your teenage, move past all your school, and now it is time for the real deal. In 2010, what prompted you to say, you know what, I'm gonna start my own business? I feel, I just want to do my own thing. I don't want to work for Uncle Sam. Tell us where did it all get started in 2010?
Well, Malik, when you get tired of getting fired and you have a gift, you go ahead and use it. So the thing was, I'd work jobs and have jobs and, all that good stuff. But eventually down the line, Malik, I would either get laid off or fired from the job. No matter what it was, it always happened. And the last job I had and got fired, I was like, forget this. I'm just going to sew full time. And ever since then, I've been rolling ever since, man. Thank God, man. So that's how that happened. And at that point, I was just like, I can do it. I have the gift. I just have to build my clientele. And so I just kept it moving, man.
Wow.
Just kept it moving.
Okay, so while you kept it moving, okay, so how did you get started as far as what did you do? Like, did you somewhat see something on an ad or in a paper or did you just start making stuff and, had an event? Tell us a little bit about that in this next question.
I've always sold. And the thing about it is, it's just making connections. Somebody would tell somebody, somebody would tell somebody, and it just became a snowball effect. And that's how I started to build my clientele, and my business started picking up. And social media is a great help.
You listen.
So,
you listen. I know.
Great help. So,
I tell you.
Yeah, that's how that happened.
Okay, well, we have another big thing that came about in 2012, Fashion Week, Charlotte, North Carolina. You were the winner of their Fashion Week. Now, talk to us as far as in this next question, how did you get in and, how was the experience for the Fashion Week in Charlotte?
Okay, so let me tell you how that all happened.
Okay.
I was a student at Paul Mitchell the School, Charlotte, which is a hair school. So I am a licensed cosmetologist and instructor. So I hold those licenses. At the time, I didn't know what I was doing, with hair. So it was just something to do while I moved back to Charlotte because I relocated from Atlanta. So there was a lady. Her name was Rita Miles, who did Charlotte Fashion Week. And they would do the casting calls at Paul Mitchell, the school. So it just so happened while she was there, I had a wedding gown in my car and bought it to her to look at. And ever since then, I've been doing Charlotte Fashion Week, man. And then in 2012, that's where I won. I put a collection on the runway and won the award for Best Designer.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That is awesome. That is so awesome.
So it all goes back to timing, man. It's all about timing.
Timing. Well, you are right about timing, Robert. You are so right about timing. And, and guess what? It paid off, as this bio says. But yet, like I said, we're 8 minutes into our first show. But like I say, yet you just kept on striving, which is good. So, producer, while we got a little bit of 8 minutes, we're going to try and squeeze in this first piece, but the rest we're going to go on to part 2. But Robert, I am so thrilled that you have connected. Now, I want you to take your time in this last 8 minutes because this is pretty big. But you
Okay.
had connected with the, I mean, legends, four divas, uh, the Clark sisters. And
Hmm.
I mean, you just connected with them. And the rest is history. So tell us in these last 7 minutes, take your time with it. And we also, while we're on, here's the Clark sisters in all white, and I believe they were doing a show that night. Robert
Right.
created, look at this, ladies and gentlemen, he created these beautiful outfits. Producer, let's move on to the next one real quick. Yes, that's Robert and Dorinda Clark Cole. Now, I tell you what, let's go back to the Clark sisters, producer, in all white. So, Robert, tell me, how did the Clark sisters and you connect?
Okay. So this, I love this story. So I have an aunt.
Mm-hmm.
She's really not a blood aunt. You know you have those aunts that you just call aunt.
Yeah,
You
that's
know,
a
like Aunt
Kojic
Mildred.
thing. Mm-hmm.
So Aunt Ella, who is Bishop Sheard's, um,
Church mother,
no.
Ella
Aunt Ella is
Gordon.
Bishop Sheard. Yeah, Aunt Ella is
Well, you
Bishop
know, producer,
Sheard.
we have a, speaking of, oh, hold on, I'm sorry. We have a picture of you and Aunt Ella Gordon. Producer, could you go to him and Aunt Ella Gordon, the beautiful lady with the gray hair? Yes, we're going to talk about all these designs on the second, but go ahead, producer. Keep going. I tell you what, let's go back to the Clark sisters in white. Go ahead, Rob. We're going to let you finish.
So Aunt Ella is Bishop Sheard's aunt,
Oh, wow.
and yeah, and so Aunt Ella has a girlfriend in Connecticut, my Aunt Pat.
Pat
They've been
Brewer.
friends for years, and I met Aunt Ella when she came to Connecticut
Mm-hmm.
or something, and that's how I met Aunt Ella. And Aunt Ella just connected me with Miss Karen first.
Mm-hmm.
You know, she connected me with her, and you know, me and Miss Karen, we did our thing for a little bit, and then it just happened that the sisters fell in, and you know, it just happened like that, man. And you know, it's been such a journey with them. They all are wonderful ladies. They all have their own sweet spirit about them. I mean, they are amazing women. I love
Wow.
them. Not because I sold for them, you know,
Uh-huh.
had I, you know, that was, you know, that has nothing to do with it. But, you know, they're great women and they love God, man. And you know, again, I love them. They are awesome. Again, not because I sold for them, but just because they are who they are outside of their names.
Yeah, you're right.
Outside of
You
their
telling the
names.
truth. Yeah,
Of course I am. Outside of their names.
you are telling the truth. Well, we are so glad that God has blessed you to design for the sisters. That is so amazing. Let's move on to our next picture. We're gonna get the sisters out on this for the show is over. Go to the next picture, producer. Yes. So we have you at convocation 2 years ago. You and the one and only the Rose Doctor Elect Lady. I call her Auntie on the side. Dorinda Clark Costa. Let's talk about you and Dorinda's relationship and so on and so forth.
Okay. She and I are not as close
Mm-hmm.
as I am with Miss Karen and Aunt Jackie.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, we have a good connection, and I can call her if I need to. But I don't worry them because they're
Mm-hmm.
always so busy. So, but you know, we have a good relationship as well. You know, that's pretty much it for me and Dr. Cole.
Okay.
Yeah. So,
Well, we want to. I tell you what, producer. In these last 4 minutes, we're gonna let's move on to the next picture, producer. Yes, yes. You and the one and only Bishop's wife, the spinner, the hollerer, the echoer, Lady Karen Valencia Clark Sheard. Yes. So, yeah, we have you guys together at Greater Emmanuel. Such a beautiful picture. And so let's talk a little about you and Lady Sheard's relationship.
okay. So, what do you want to know?
You kind of froze on me.
Hello.
I'm here, Robert. I'm here.
Okay. So, Miss Karen, she's my girl. That's my girl. I love her. And we have a really really good relationship. Um, and of course, I can call her anytime I get ready to, and but I don't because I know that they're busy.
Hmm.
But our relationship is it's good. I'm happy with where I am with her in our relationship, our
Hmm.
fashion relationship, even our personal relationship.
Hmm.
It's all good, and I'm very very happy.
Beautiful. That is so beautiful. Well, speaking of Karen Clark Shear, here are some pictures, ladies and gentlemen, of some of Robert's designs. As you can see, Robert is in a picture with Lady Karen in a green and a black. He designed that, and actually, she was directing the choir as Twinkie was playing. And I believe that was on a Sunday evening at one of their services at Greater Emmanuel. So that is a beautiful picture of them. Let's move on to the next picture, producer. Okay, we are going to save Auntie Jackie Clark Chisholm for the second show because I know Robert has so much to say about this beautiful woman of God. So, producer, let's move on to some other. Let's move on to the next one. Okay, that's speaking of Dr. Cole. That is a beautiful dress. She was on her show, the Dorinda Show, and Robert had designed this pretty rose and zebra. I say zebra, black and white striped. Robert knows what I'm talking about, and it got the rose on it. It's so beautiful. And Robert designs girls, so check him out. But we're going to definitely give out his information to all you fashion lovers out there. Moving on to our next picture, producer. Yes. In this 1 minute of our first half, here is official day of this past convocation. Robert Designs. Karen is dressed up in a red fur with a hat pin and the black with the roses. Robert, going back to you, I love it. I just wish she could have shouted in it because that would have just say, oh, that would have just took me over. But you did that. I love that. So, Robert, can you tell us, where how did this because I'm telling you, this design just exploded when she put it on social media. I mean, people just loved it.
Malik, I think that photograph got like 60,000 likes,
Ooh,
views.
my gosh.
60,000. But we collaborated on that.
Mm, I love it.
Yeah, Robert, what am I going to do for official day? I was like, I don't know, Miss Karen. What you got in mind?
Mm.
I don't know. I said, well, we'll come up with something. And that's what we came up with.
Well, I love it. I just completely love it. And somebody, and it's just so nice. It's so nice. Well, we are 25 seconds into our first half of the show, but come back for part two of the Malik Show Live. We're still going to be with Robert Craig Designs. He, in part two, is going to talk more about his fashion, clientele, celebrity stars, and much more. This is your host, Malik Shabazz Sullivan. Please come back for part two with Robert Craig Designs.